Okay, Facebookers, we've got a treat this week. We've got on the couch Sean Blackwood as normal, and with us we've got Alexandra McMillan. Now, all three of us, as you know, are going to be competing in the UK BFF, and we thought we'd come together to do a very, very short video on food preparation for bodybuilders, as it seems to come up a lot on the questions.
And for the competitors.
And for the competitors, and it comes up a lot on the polls, etc. So we're going to talk about food preparation. As Sean's mentioned in previous videos, he gets about 6 to 8 meals in a day. Now obviously no one's going to be around all day at work to cook 6 to 8 meals, so you have to prepare your meals in advance. So Sean says, was it proper preparation prevents piss poor or something, isn't it? Or something?
Yeah, almost.
I'm getting now, see that? See
right.
that?
So it's the 6 P's that I like to call it is proper preparation prevents piss poor performance.
There you go, 7 P's, right. So
6 P's.
6 P's, there you go.
And on top of that, you've got preparation to success.
Preparation to success, there you go. Right, I've been told today. Right, anyway, so how do we get these meals and how do we prepare them in advance? Okay. So, what foods are available to us as bodybuilders? Now, as bodybuilders, we like nice lean meats. Things like chicken, we like things like fish. I know me and Sean also like a lot of eggs. And, you know, I like a little bit of steak. Now, in terms of steak, I'm going to talk about that separately, but steak is not really something you can sort of cook and store in the fridge for multiple days. It's best done fresh on the day, so we'll talk about that in a second. But in terms of chicken, what kind of choice of chicken have we got, Alex, for cooking in advance for bodybuilders and then storing in the fridge?
Chicken breasts, chicken thighs, chicken drumsticks.
Okay, so if you were quite affluential and a bit rich, you could probably afford the chicken breasts. If you're on a budget, I suppose, then you've got the chicken thighs and the chicken drumsticks, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so how long in the fridge, if I was to cook my chicken drumsticks, my chicken thighs or my chicken breasts, do you think I could store them safely without risk of food poisoning?
In the fridge, no more than 2-day shelf life.
So we've got about a 2-day shelf life, okay.
You can freeze the chicken once it's cooked then.
Good, yeah, okay, so we can freeze the chicken. Is this also going to be the true about fish, when we talk about fish as well? Can we freeze fish meals?
Yes, freeze the fish.
Any kind of food meals that don't sort of freeze, or?
You wouldn't really want to freeze your carbs and your vegetables, so like your rice, your sweet potato and any vegetables, just cook them fresh. Probably get a 2-day shelf life out of them as well, depending on what type of vegetables really you're cooking.
But you just store them in the main part of the fridge?
Yeah.
Right, okay. So let's say then now we've got our shopping now back from our local supermarket, we've got our chicken. How do you find the quickest and best way of mass cooking a big tray or a big batch of chicken for storage, really?
Quickest and easiest way to cook chicken is in the oven. So put all your chicken breasts, chicken thighs or chicken drumsticks on a baking tray. Season them up. The type of seasoning I tend to use is like black pepper or smoked paprika. Again, they're just ideas. You can use whatever seasoning suits. Season them both sides. Put them in the oven, 200-degree heat. Depending on the size of the actual chicken, can be anywhere between 20 to 30 minutes. So just check them. Obviously, always make sure it's cooked thoroughly and the meat is white throughout.
Is there any way that you can actually test that the chicken's cooked? Or can we like test the juices or something? Or is it just all done by eye?
I just tend to check it with a fork.
Just pierce it with a
Yeah,
fork? So
or you can cut it in half as well. That's an easier way as well to make sure there's no blood in it.
Okay, so we can cook quite a lot of chicken then on a tray at 200 degrees basically for about 30 minutes in the oven,
Yeah.
we're pretty much saying, okay. Now obviously, for someone like Sean, you're going to get a lot less meals than, say, you're a female competitor out of a tray of chicken, I suppose. So what other kind of foods then can we cook then apart from the chicken then? We've got obviously other things like fish. What kind of fish do you
is
buy?
just dead simple. You can cook it on the same heat at the same time. The easiest way to cook, say, is like any type of white fish, so again it depends on your budget. It's just in tin foil, again the seasoning, quickest and easiest seasoning to use, smoked paprika, black pepper, both sides, wrap it in tin foil. When you are cooking the white fish, I won't put any more than 2 pieces per slice of tin foil. wrap it up, cook it again. Generally it's about 20 to 25 minutes you'll find on the fish. Again, take it out, it can be kept for a shelf life of 2 days.
Is there any particular way you're going to cook it? Do you have to put chicken on the top shelf or maybe fish at the bottom?
I'd always put fish on the bottom shelf.
Because of the juices?
Yeah, because of the juices that come out.
So you don't want your chicken tasting the fish?
Yeah.
So, and this is all white fish now we're talking about, because some people on the Facebook page come from a lot of different places, and there might not be some varieties available to them. I remember you mentioned the other day that you went to the market and you normally get what's ever on offer.
Yeah, the best if you want to get like cheapest cuts of meat, cheapest cuts of fish, if you go to your local market towards the end of the day, maybe an hour before it closes, you will tend to find that they all tend to sell off the chicken and the fish at a cheaper price, so it's a good way to get, and you can buy in bulk because you can either cook and freeze or just freeze it and then take it out the night before to cook it fresh the next day. It's a good tip that to do.
Okay, so that sort of covers our protein sources, and we've got our lean fish and we've got our lean meats like chicken. Me myself, I like steak. The reason I like to eat steak is actually got natural creatine inside the actual meat itself. It's a good source of creatine. However, as we've had a discussion pre-video, you can't really store steak in the fridge after it's cooked, so it is going to be one of those things that you are going to be doing on the day, so it doesn't really come into a food prep video like this, but I just wanted to point out, steak's a very good high quality meat, especially rump, sirloin, any prime cuts like that, and they're very, very high in creatine, which is obviously a very good supplement for bodybuilders, as you know, and we'll go into that in further videos. Okay, so now we've done the protein sources. What about carbohydrates? Obviously, someone like Sean's going to be eating a lot of carbohydrates on a daily basis. How could we cook a lot of carbohydrates and store those for a bodybuilder?
Okay, the easiest way for carbohydrates, again, you can cook using the same temperature, 200 degrees. Sweet potato is a good one because it's very easy to do. There's a couple of ways you can do it, but cooking them in the oven, weigh out the correct weight that you want for your sweet potato. Just wrap it in tin foil, cook it in the oven. Depending on really the size of the sweet potato, you're talking anything from 30 minutes to an hour and 15 minutes. It depends on the size and the weight of sweet potato. Again, has a shelf life in the fridge of probably 2 days, and you wouldn't want to be freezing any sweet potato. Another way of cooking it is you can peel it if you like it peeled and boil it, cook it into small chunks and boil it just in some hot water on the hob. Maybe add some seasoning to it, black pepper, whatever really suits your taste there. Brown rice as well, obviously brown rice only tends to cook on the hob, tends to be anywhere between 20 to 30 minutes depending on the type of brown rice. Another thing I do with that is I tend to add mixed herbs to it just to season it up. You can use your preference there though. There's also white potato, depends on the type of training you're doing, that's another good one. Quickest way to cook again is to cook it in tin foil, pre-weight it first, cook it in tin foil, or slice it up, some seasoning to use maybe in a bowl, some mixed herbs, something like that, just to give it a bit of seasoning, like slice it into thin chips, cook it in the oven 200 degrees probably for about 40 minutes, just a bit of variation there.
What do you do then? Just sort of put it in Tupperware, I suppose, or some kind of like plastic containers and just like airtight storage containers?
Everything that's cooked is put into Tupperware dishes.
Now you mentioned obviously there are a few different types of carbohydrates. Now obviously this is going to depend on what season you're in. Now someone like Sean and myself, we're in more of a bulking season, aren't we, Sean? Yeah. So the diet can be a little bit more flexible. But as you go into a competition mode, Sean, you'll probably be bit more strict on your carbs, especially going for low GI sources, so probably less high GI like brown rice, probably no white potatoes, and it's going to probably be a lot of sweet potatoes, isn't it, Sean?
Yeah, exactly. Again, like we spoke about in the first post, or one of the other posts we did talk about, again, about working out your calories and finding out exactly sort of what you need, whether it's a calorie increase or calorie deficit, depending on what your training needs are. Obviously someone like myself, at the moment in time, I tend to pretty much get most of any carbohydrate sources. I like to vary pretty much everything. Again, with the protein sources, I like to have good variations. What we didn't talk about again is say things like fish. We can have salmon. Again, it depends on costs. It can be quite expensive, but I pretty much all your fishes are going to have sort of your good proteins in. Now again, I like to treat myself, so I might have some mussels. Again, I like your steaks. Again, these are good fat sources as well as proteins. Remember, you can get 2 for 1. Something like your chicken probably won't have as much, your goodness as your steak and your fish with regards to good fats and stuff as we did. But obviously we talked about udas, so we have talked about the udas.
We've had a few mentions, haven't we? But I think we'd have to have a whole post to it.
Yeah, a whole post. And then we've gone through a little bit of eggs. We're not bringing that in yet, but
yeah, we'll talk about eggs I think in a second, Sean, because I think you've just raised quite a few important questions here as well. Obviously, you like to have a good variety, don't you, of obviously fish and chickens and beefs and stuff like that, and obviously your carb sources, but there must be a way obviously of having a mixture of like seasonings and vegetables and things like that, and salads and stuff that can go with these as well. Is there any sort of ideas that you've got in terms of like salads and vegetables and stuff that can be paired at either of you?
Again, to be honest with you, it's each to their own, how people like to have it done. Again, someone like myself who works a lot of hours and always on the go, I mean, even like I said in the off season, I don't even mind buying some packet you can get like from Tesco's or any supermarkets. You can buy like for a couple of quid 2 packs of salad or whatever it is depending on the time, so I can just add that into the meal. Anything really that can take away prep time in the kitchen is very useful to a bodybuilder, and Alex has already sort of stated that a lot of the stuff that everyone's probably got is an oven. So a lot of the stuff that we already talked about, pretty much apart from the rice, can be done in the oven. So it's, again, once you've prepped it, got it ready, season it the way you like it, and remember after you cooked it, you can put any additional spices how you like. Again, a lot of things I like to do on sort of carbohydrates like oats or even rice, I like to add some cinnamon in there, and what that actually does is actually slows down the digestion of the carb source, so it actually makes it even more of a slow release.
Also, just out of interest, a little fact for you, cinnamon makes you more insulin sensitive. Now, Alex, the other day we were talking about a Mediterranean vegetable mix as well, which sounded quite nice as well, and you were saying that can be stored in the fridge as well. Just for the viewers, could you go through that recipe again, because I've got a bad memory and I can't actually remember what it is, so if you could tell them what that recipe was. That was quite a nice tasty recipe, and I know if me and Sean had the time we'd also make that available very often, wouldn't we, Sean?
Yeah, it's quite quick and easy. A couple of peppers in there, whatever choice of colour you prefer. I'd prefer to use red and yellow. Slice them up. A packet of fine green beans, again, slice them up just in half there. A small pack of, say, plum tomatoes or cherry tomatoes. 1 red onion, again sliced up, with 1/4 teaspoon of coconut oil, with some mixed herbs. Mix it all in together. This is basically in a casserole dish. Goes with maybe some courgettes as well. Goes in the oven for 200 degrees, probably for about 15 minutes. And you've got a nice Mediterranean tasting dish there. Or if you want, you can actually use it on the hob as well. Same way, in a pan with 1/4 teaspoon of coconut oil and some mixed herbs. And sometimes do a variation of that, don't necessarily stick to the same vegetables, might take some different vegetables out, put some different vegetables in. It is really whatever suits your needs, but it's just a quick and easy way. The coconut oil moistens it, and obviously the herbs gives it the taste, so you can use whatever you prefer.
And obviously in some countries there'll be vegetables that are in season that are not in season in the UK and vice versa, so I suppose you can play around with whatever's available in your hometown. Going back then to eggs, I briefly mentioned a minute ago. Now, I'm a very lazy boy and I've done a video already on eggs. Now for breakfast I do like to use the Egg Nation eggs, simply because I hate cracking eggs. I know you like me, Sean, we hate cracking eggs, don't we? And Egg Nation for mine works, or you can buy it online. We've said that before, I think it's egg-whites.co.uk. I like to literally have an egg white omelette for breakfast because it's very, very quick. It's in a can or carton, whatever you call it. Pour it out, a little bit of butter, a little bit of milk, and you can add some nice spices or some herbs or whatever you want to that as well. And that's like a nice sort of runny egg omelette. Is that sort of similar to something that you do, Sean, or do you do something else with eggs? Or
yes, like again, as we said, variation is sort of the key, and anything else, again, when you're eating quite a few meals, it gets a bit repetitive. But again, depending on what your needs are, as us as bodybuilders, it's just something that has to be done. Again, to keep our metabolism going, we have to be sort of eating sort of every maybe 2.5, 3 hours, sort of keeping that consistency. And a lot of the time you might not actually be hungry, but just getting a small amount of a balanced meal just to keep your body ticked over again for your muscles, keeping the growth and everything else in there. Again, I'll also say about the eggs and the variation. We've got the Egg Nation here, but again, I still like to use sort of just normal eggs that I like to crack a day. I'll probably make like an omelette or something with a slight variation. As I keep saying, a power breakfast that people like to talk about. And what I like to do for me personally is, again, I'll crack open 6 to 8 eggs. Again, if I want to add some Egg Nation in it, if I'm struggling, again, I'll sort of beat it down. I'll probably have out of that 3 egg yolks. Again, it's got good fats in there, so just remember, you don't want to be having all the sort of yolks that Chris might tell you about. So I kind of have sort of a balance, maybe half and half. So whatever the amount of eggs I'll have half in yolks. Once I beat that up, I might add some cinnamon there. Any other spices I might like, I sometimes like nutmeg in there. And what I like to find is I chop half a banana or a banana, and as I've beat it down, put it into the pan. Again, it's on a low heat, as protein can be heat sensitive, so I never would sort of cook it on a high heat. And I just add some bananas in there, and again, anything else I want to add to it later, I might even, once it's cooked, I might have some spinach, again some green leafy stuff, so then I'll get a power balanced breakfast, which has got everything I need. And then after that, it's just some kind of carbohydrates. Again, is it going to be a slow releasing carb like carbohydrates? I mean, if you want rice in the morning, it's probably not the best one to have, but it depends on you.
Just picking up as well from the egg video, Sean's made a very good point there about cooking the eggs on a low heat, warm them up gently, because we don't want the protein to denature. However, egg whites themselves do actually contain a chemical called avidin, which binds to the protein and makes them very hard to digest. We do have to break those bonds, so raw eggs are a no-no. I know obviously in the Rocky films, etc., they have the raw eggs, etc., but you'd be surprised at how little actually gets digested drinking raw eggs. The other thing that Sean mentioned, the egg yolks. A lot of people are frightened of egg yolks. Yes, you do get a lot of fat in the egg yolk, but also it's the good kind of fat that actually does lower cholesterol. And what you have to remember is, even though the egg white itself is the highest percentage of protein out of the whole egg, the actual egg yolk does contain all the minerals and the vitamins and all the other ingredients made for the chicken. So, it is good to have a few egg yolks in your omelette if you can be able to crack the eggs. Now, I'm starving after this video, so we're going to go get some food, so we're going to end it there, but I hope we helped you guys.